Oh, I'm gearing myself up.
That's fine.
Good evening and welcome to Weaving Web3 with me, James.
Me, Chris.
And me, Stash.
Today, we're going to go over a couple of bits that have happened in the week, mainly FTX and their absolute collapse. And then after we've gone over FTX and talked about sort of the things that have gone wrong there, we'll talk about other options, how you should be storing your assets, where should you be keeping them to keep them safe, and things to be looking out for. So if we pass over to Stash, would you like to give us a quick little summary of what's been going on with FTX and how it is also FTX'd up?
Yeah, so basically, never trust anyone. Don't trust people with your money. Do not leave your money on centralized exchanges and that they have your best interest. As we've seen with
Celsius,
we've seen with FTX now that supposedly, everyone thought, all the big names thought, these guys have the best people, we trust them, everything, like they're going to manage all our assets. Absolutely not. They did not care one bit. They created parent companies. You will heard about Alameda Research going down under, which FTX used their own customer funds to bail these companies out. And they have accounts for these super rich people that they said, we're going to take care of you, which they have locked accounts, which they cannot even access for a certain amount of period, whatever they agreed to. And they think, yeah, that's fine, that's great. But secretly, they've been essentially embezzling these funds to God knows where, paying themselves. Apparently, it turned out that the owners of these companies were in some kind of sex cabal and that they were all having sexual relations.
Allegedly.
And it just feels weird how some of the most powerful people in this world supposedly believe these 9 people that they're gonna change the world for them. But yeah,
it sounds like something out of like a documentary series or something like that, like one twist after the other. And I'm sure they're going to make a documentary about this. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
The amount of twists and turns that have happened in just the last week, starting off with, well, the whole crash, really, I guess. And then going from that to CZN, the Binance guy trying to buy them, and then it's been a mess of a week.
I think there's a really weird thing going on with like crypto at the moment, where places like FTX and Celsius, they appear from the outside like, great website, load of advertising, all this sort of stuff. They look like banks, like they look like legitimate financial institutions that have got big insurance and they've got covenants over them and they've got financial regulation and all this. That's what they look like to people, but they're just not. They are just not regulated in the same way. So I think people get lured in, or even like businesses, big businesses get lured in, going, okay, we can put money here because it's like a bank or it's like a trading, it's like a Hargreaves Lansdown, something like a big investment broker. And you're like, it absolutely isn't. And the people I was looking at it was on the Ontario Teachers Pension Trust had $93 million in FTX, and you think, like, do these guys understand where they're putting their money? Like, and that's not, I'm not trying to sound,
I totally agree.
I'm like, do they physically understand what they've put their money on? And they go, okay, we should be in crypto, let's put it in here. And it's like, you've given $93 million to some guy. And it's like, I granted, obviously, there's a business behind it and stuff, but I just think, I'm not sure that some of the older investors or some of the traditional investors understand the risks. Absolutely. That or they don't care because it's not their money.
FYI, if anyone that is watching has $93 million and wants to send it my way, I will happily accept that. I will keep it safe for you. Like, just letting you know.
Chris is just some guy and we'll help with him. And we think he's really trustful as well. And when you give us that money, we'll sponsor Mercedes F1. And then they'll drop us like it's hot when we crash and we've got no cash. So I don't know if you boys agree. Like, it looks to me like all these crypto institutions are making themselves look legitimate, but they just don't have, there's nothing behind it. Like, and you just have to trust some of them.
We talked a little bit about it last week, didn't we? Like sponsoring the big events and like having your name on the side of a stadium, right? That makes you seem legitimate, obviously. And it's really, we're living in sort of unprecedented times. Like, you can't trust anyone. Like, I mean, we're on the brink of a financial crisis, cost of living crisis already, like everything like that. Big companies going broke is a very, very sort of proper risk right now. Like, people are sort of can easily lose lots and lots of money. And I guess obviously there was a lot more to do with it, the whole FTX thing. There was a lot more like scandal and very, very bad running of the company. But it's a scary time, really, for financials.
And there's going to be a massive knockback effect on this, because I don't know if you read what happened with the whole Celsius things, and like that people were unfortunately committing suicide because they had their entire life and they were investing in it. And, like, and like, imagine those people seeing like, you can't get your money back, but this is my money. And this is where we have to come in, because the normal banks now are saying, well, you can't withdraw your money because even though it's your money, it's going to not enough money for everyone else because they're overspending and they're losing so much money. So this is where one thing crypto has positive, where we can have a way to keep it off those exchanges.
The thing is, and this is what people have got to understand, is what FTX have done is what banks do. So banks obviously want us to deposit our money with them. They then go and trade it, lend out in mortgages. They do all sorts of things with it, right? But what the exchanges, like the crypto exchanges, don't have, that the banks have, is taxpayers. Because at the end of the day, when the banks collapse, we foot the bill.
Yeah.
Because they can't have the banks collapse. So that's why I think when we look at problems like this, banks would run exactly the same as this if they weren't regulated. And that's the thing, is that I don't think any of this is particularly new from financial institutions. I just think that we have, over years and years and years of having banks, regulated it and sort of fixed the problem. Maybe not fixed it, but like the big, like obviously people thought like, oh, the mortgage bonds, they're gold clad 2008, and they're not. So I'm not sure we can trust the fiat banks any more than the crypto people, but at least the fiat banks have some insurance behind them, regulation, governments, etc. Because at the end of the day, if the Bank of America is going to go bust, they get the American people to bail it out. But if FTX is going bust, tough tits. There's no one there.
Yeah.
So I think
there's no such thing as too big to fail in crypto. Like when you're unregulated, when you're decentralized, sort of like you're kind of taking the risk because of the decentralization and
big risk,
regulation.
Like everyone says, literally might be just 1% out of everything out there is going to survive, or potentially it could be just a failed experiment, which I highly doubt. But
it's really interesting. What do you boys think about this? So obviously, right, a lot of the crypto people, you get some crypto people who are proper like libertarians, who are like, no, I love crypto because it means there's no big man in the sky looking down on me. My money's my money. I can do what I want with it. But do you not think that to protect people, some centralization is needed? Do you see what I mean? Because if it's completely decentralized, you get people just taking the money and leaving. And what's the consequence?
No,
So
I totally agree. That's why like with the certain blockchains, they have to choose between like scalability, decentralization, centralization. I personally think, part of me is like, for the freedom of information kind of thing, I want the blockchain to be, you can see everything and everyone what to do. And like some of the stuff that they're realizing with FTX, what they've been doing is because of the power of the blockchain, everything is visible. You can't hide away from corruption and stuff. But at the same time, I feel people aren't ready for this kind of power. This is going to be a generational thing, maybe that we might roll out for our kids or our grandchildren. We need to educate these people, because right now people are just going into it blindly, and it's like so new. Okay, I'm going to jump on it. Crypto. There needs to be a generational change, and it's going to be instantaneous.
Yeah. So I don't know if either of you were invested in Luna at all.
Yeah, I had a bet.
I didn't touch
it. When that happened,
I saw 20% returns per year and went, nah. Like what? It doesn't make, you can't promise me 20% returns every year and not something ping.
Well, that's the thing, going back to what we said last week about the scams, right? If someone says that they're going to make you money, definitely, then run as far as you can.
Yeah.
I had 2 Luna. I was there. I bought at about £55. Then obviously it hit like heights of $150 or something like that, and then
You hold
it
or sell?
crashed. I was pretty stupid, and on the way down, I was buying. I was like, "There's no way this can go lower. Come on!" Like, yeah. So I ended up in the end with 1,000 Luna, and I'd spent about 600 quid.
Oh my God.
Brutal.
Yeah. I then then obviously Luna went to 0.001. And I was like, you know what? Well, since I've got my 1,000, might as well make it 650,000 for an extra 50 quid.
Yeah.
So I've still got that, and that's now worth, I think, 150. So I've made a little bit back.
But I think Luna's basically the new meme coin, kind of like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They will pump it every now and then, and maybe one. It's a completely dead project, but people are just going to do it for the laugh. So it's a moonshot.
All publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, I've seen it go up from there to like 300, and I was like, maybe cash it out now. And then it went down the next day to like 200, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna leave it, see what happens. If it goes to zero, like, but yeah, like, you don't expect it to happen. That's the thing, especially for me in that situation. I never envisioned Luna going to
you got so emotional. That's the thing. You got emotionally attached to it, which is the biggest mistake to make in crypto.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was so confident going down. I was like, oh my God, Luna at £10 a coin? Yeah, I'm in.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because you've watched it climb. Like, you've watched it climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. And you're like, and in your head, you're probably sat there, because everyone does this. You see it at 80 quid and you think, oh, if only I bought at 10. And then you see it hit 10 and you think, oh, fantastic, I'll buy that. because you're like, I wish I had. And then
you don't realize that the whole project is crumbling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So FTX obviously had its big old crumble, big old fall, and it makes me very cautious about exchanges. What do you guys use to store your crypto? And if you just give me all your keys and stuff, just send them across to me.
Copy and paste it in chat.
Copy and paste it in the chat. Send it all to me. I'll just double check that's safe. No, but like, what do you guys use? Like, do you use a mix of exchanges, safe, like software wallets, hardware wallets? Like, what do you boys use?
Who's going first?
You go, Stash.
Okay, so I have a beautiful shiny Ledger Nano X, where originally I used it for stuff that this is literally my savings for the rest of my life kind of stuff. Like, I'm buying it, doesn't matter what price, it goes in, it'll sit in there, and it's basically a storage vault that no one has access to apart from me, because it's offline, cold storage essentially. It's only hot when I plug it into my computer, do my secret beep boop buttons, and that ensures if FTX collapse, my money is still my money, because it's not on their exchange, not on their servers, their keys. Like the big saying, not your keys, not your crypto. Because when you're on a centralized exchange, they hold ownership to all your keys for practicality's sake and make it easier for you. But as we just saw, like, people still think that these neo banks, I like to call them, these crypto exchanges are going to be in your best interest. As soon as they start failing, they're going to use. And there's some shady things that I've seen, like when the whole Celsius thing, that they will use your crypto as collateral to pay off all the big people first, and then you guys are just left with what drips and drabs. So
can I just loop around to that, Stash? Chris, do you use any hard wallets? Like, no?
I'm very silly. I have mine on
heresy.
See, I also,
Stash,
I also do not have a hardware wallet. I know. But the thing is, right?
But you have MetaMask, right? So
I've got a MetaMask.
I've got a soft wallet, but then I just like to touch on, because Stash mentioned some really, really good bits about having a hardware wallet. It's secure. You've got the keys. Can't hack into it because Stash doesn't have it online. Can't find it. But there are some drawbacks in that Stash might be clumsy and drop it, or lose it, or it could go up in a house fire. There are obviously risks to having it.
I have been smart. I have hidden my keys in 2 separate locations with a cipher, so no one could ever realize it.
And we'll be releasing those locations in the cipher as part of
a
drop.
We're going to be doing a treasure hunt.
A treasure hunt. Find my cipher.
So that's a good question, Stash. Right. So what protects you from a house fire with that?
I have bought myself, I don't know, it's not in my house, this house, no one robbed me. I bought a metal, it's these fireproof kind of things that store your seed phrase, and it's fireproof.
I've got one of those for birth certificates and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So essentially, I've put down my seed phrases on this metal piece of paper, not in the correct order, because I'm not stupid enough. If someone does find it, they'll be like, oh my God, there's a key for something. They're going to use it. So one thing I would say to anyone, when you do set up a MetaMask and that, never put them in order. You create yourself some kind of secret way that you know what to do, because bound to be in a few years, someone was going to come across something. So yeah.
Do you know what I think is really funny is you say about that? I don't know if you guys know that Mr. Beast had his house robbed, and they took his laptop with $2 million of Bitcoin on it, back when Bitcoin was about 100 quid. And he said his seed phrase and his passwords were on a sticker on his laptop. Right? He went in and they'd nicked his laptop, they'd nicked like a load of other stuff like phones or whatever. He went on, cleared out, he went onto his, wherever it was, I think it was on Exchange or something actually, and he just transferred it all out because the robber hadn't looked at it. They had no idea what those words were, no idea what any of it was.
Amazing.
And he was like,
wow, that's so lucky.
He was like, they got like a grand laptop, but I've got $2 million in Bitcoin. He's talking about it on a podcast the other week.
Wow.
But it's stuff like that where actually I suspect the crossover of people nicking stuff versus knowing what the crypto is, maybe at that point was so tiny that actually that was not a crazy system.
People think about, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a great discussion point there where we go, right, so hardware, well, it's super secure, really good, but there is the risk of physical damage to them. You know, you could lose fire, theft, etc. And Stash gives them some great ideas of how, if you're doing it physically, places to store it so that they're still functional, useful, but that you're not going to get robbed by your mate, probably more likely than an actual thief who knows about crypto. Because that, I know that's a horrible thing to say.
I totally agree with you. It's the people that are close to you are more likely to be like jealousy and stuff like that. You experience in real life, something goes successful. Sometimes people close to you be like, hang on a second, they'll get a bit jealous, and you never know. Like one of my moon bags becomes 20 million, and one thing I would say, if we're future crypto millionaires, we don't tell people, because that just sets a target on our back, kind of thing.
Me and Chris will be right around your house to rob you. You got two bearded blokes.
As we said last week, this podcast will go on with you, me, and whoever we get to replace that.
Absolutely. But so right.
What, you living in the Bahamas then, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be watching you guys.
Ironically, we'll call our wallet the Stash.
Next week, the virtual backgrounds with like palm trees.
Green screen it up. So, right. So we've done hardware. That's cool. Right, Christopher, what do we then use as what's your next one?
I use an exchange. I use crypto.com. I have it all in the crypto.com account.
All in crypto.com.
I do also have it on, I have some on my Kraken. So when I started out, I opened up Kraken and a crypto.com account. And I sort of, I've just kept them on there the whole time. I have used the staking like perks and stuff like that quite a lot. Mm-hmm. So because I'm not a day trader, I don't really like, I'm known amongst my friends as the guy who just doesn't sell when I should. Yeah. But I lock my crypto up and just have it staked and earning sort of residual income. I know obviously that's not completely correct because the prices fluctuate. Like I remember I had SHIB and there was a massive pump in SHIB, and I had my Sheeb locked up for the next month. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't get it out.
Now
So yeah,
It's
there
difficult
are-
though, isn't it? Because
Hmm?
it's difficult though, because like
can't.
as you say, that like if you're happy, if you go, do you know what? Actually, a 5% return annually is all I want. It doesn't matter if that price fluctuates or not, because if you're getting your 5%, or I don't know what Sheep's like is, but like I know you get decent APIs of like you can get one on ETH2 was like before that merge happened, it's like 4% on ETH. And it's
yeah.
like if I'm happy to get 4% on I don't know £1,000 or something a year, which is like bank interest, you can do. I think
Hmm.
so. So sorry, so we've got hardware wallets on this side, we've got on exchanges this side. So Chris, you don't use any middle ground soft wallets?
So I do have a MetaMask, obviously, all my NFT stuff. I've got some ETH on there as well. So I do, but obviously my main, at least for crypto,
Yeah,
my main stuff is all on
You can
exchanges.
kind of have like a supposedly cold wallet on MetaMask. Like, you know, you can create multiple accounts. You can create one account that you can just name it as don't touch kind of thing. And if you never connect that specific wallet to like the blockchain to any DApp, you've never have been able to risk it. So I have like multiple accounts on my MetaMask that will be like the burner wallet. Every time I mint a new NFT, I'm creating a totally brand new wallet, then because there's no risk of anything like that. But that's a way you can protect yourself in like that kind of MetaMask area.
so when we're talking to people, we've got a hardware wallet, really secure, but sort of you need to either plug it in or connect to it to Bluetooth to get stuff off it. And then the other end, we've got exchanges which allow staking, instant trading, instant buying, instant selling. So that's a good thing. And then we talked about in the middle with the soft wallets, is we've got a mixture of the two, where it's a live system where it's you don't need to go and grab something and plug it in, and if your house burns down, you've still got it, but it is not constantly connected to an exchange. And depending on what soft wallet you've got, you've probably got the keys.
Yes.
So I think that's a decent summary of the three.
Yeah.
Can I
So-
do one more shout out? When we went to a conference called Zebu Live, and there's this project I've been following for a long time called Copiosa. And basically they are bridging the crypto exchange that's centralized with like the MetaMask decentralization. They're offering all the centralized exchange approach, but you own all your keys and you're able to interact in the decentralized world. You can buy all these like new cryptos and stuff that you could not get on the centralized exchanges because they're slightly smaller and stuff like that. And the technology that they use is potentially also saving those individuals from being scammed as well. And if anything like that.
As part of their offering, when we spoke to them, Stash, was that they essentially know that these small market cap coins can sometimes have very similar spoofed names, or because they're small, you know, if you go on like, I don't know, what's a good thing? Put in any 3 letters on crypto market cap and you will get a selection of, you know, whatever, TOR, TOY, whatever, you know, you'll have a selection. And part of Coposa's, is it Coposa, Coinposa? Copiosa, that's the one. Part of their offering was essentially to verify the ICOs that they were looking at, well, they were maybe not ICOs, but small market cap coins, and be like, this isn't a complete rubbish coin. There's
because
actually a project here.
Initially create these scam coins just to get those people that aren't, not say clever enough, but they'll be like, okay, this is the first one, I'm going to just buy this coin.
They don't have the time to do the research, because if you want wide market appeal, it needs to be easy for people. And obviously the stock exchange does that by having a limited number and only having one of each, essentially. You know, so TSLAs, Tesla or whatever, but crypto doesn't have that luxury. And so obviously you've got to risk. I mean, the blockchain's a weird one, but I'm a bit like sometimes like these obvious scam coins that get made, I think you can't purge them off the blockchain, but I'd love it if they could just blacklist them. Like
that's what I mean. This is where the centralization approach comes, which fan of XRP, like in the future, like they will be able to, because banks want to have ability to, let's say, freeze assets in, for example, if they are used for nefarious purposes. And I think, okay, they'll probably, I guess maybe my blockchain of choice won't be that where they can just instantaneously freeze your asset, because it's still for the banking purpose, but that does have these advantages to prevent these kind of bad situations of happening.
I mean, we've all had, I assume we've all had coins sent to us.
Oh,
here's a million
All of it.
visit da-da-da.io, and you're like, this is just rubbish. Like there should be some sort of spam. Well, I would like the wallets that I use to have some sort of nice spam filter where it's like, actually, anything that comes in from this, just either send it to like a what could you call it, like a
As a
temporary
burn
wallet. Send it to like a burn wallet, temporary wallet. If anything's got a visit in the name or something, chuck it over there. Or if I'm being sent a lot, and obviously, some small market cap coins you might be trading 1 billion off, but you know what I mean. But like, typical for me, if I go, actually I trade ETH and I trade Bitcoin, I do like a bit of that. I'm never going to buy 1 billion of anything. If 1 billion comes in, go and chuck that in a burn wallet and see if I actually want it. And obviously, I get that that's not really how blockchain works. But if you're in MetaMask, for example, say you had a public-facing escrow wallet, at which point you can then go in and accept them, and it sends it through to your real wallet or sends to a burn wallet. That would be maybe a good system.
Yeah, I totally agree with these kind of. I think we just need the next generations of wallets to decide that what people want and kind of stuff, and you'll be able to filter that in the future. Because I am following a few different wallets that are potentially building what they do. I go on them to see if I like or not. Some are better than others. I just use MetaMask because right now majority of apps use MetaMask as the first kind of thing, and it is much harder to use than certain wallets. There are so many easier wallets that I could mention, but I'm not going to mention right now. I'll do it on a separate thing. But MetaMask is hard.
Yeah. A lot of stuff in crypto is not particularly user friendly, is it? And then I think that's part of the problem. Like I had a walk today, and I'll give you a little bit of James's fireside story time.
Amazing.
I had a nice family walk today around a big gorge, and I had my step grandma, is that a thing? I was talking to her, and she was an artist all of her life, and you talk to her about like art and NFTs, and she's like, nope, just don't get it, never going to get it. And it's like, it makes me a bit sad because that technology is keeping those people who love it out of it because it's just too hard to use. But if you could give her a simple way of going in, because I then showed her some art of some people that I like, and she was like, well, the art's really cool, but I'd get it, but the lack of tangibility, the fact that it's difficult to get into, and we talked about this last week as well, just I think we need to get those barriers as low as possible to get as many people in.
100%. User friendliness is the key.
Yeah, I have a similar story to you. So my uncle, he's in his 60s, but he was a lecturer of illustration for 35 years. Like, he does his own art. He's always done his own art and stuff like that. And I took him with me. I went to an expo. It was like Ethereal Collective Expo in London. Yeah. And it was like an exhibition, NFT exhibition, kind of. They had a few speakers, stuff like that. Similar to Zebu Live, not on the same scale though. But you just went around, you had a chat with a few people. There were some nice people trying to explain to him and stuff like that. But afterwards, when we left, he was like, thing is, I think it needs a bit of a kick up the arse because none of that art was actually any good. He was like, that's the thing. Like, it seems as if the art isn't the priority. And
we met a few people, I don't know, that collector that supposed showroom that had these high-end kind of NFTs.
Yeah. And I think that the whole, especially with the older art community, right, they're in it for the art. They're not necessarily in it for, I don't know, the usability, the perks, the this, that, the other. And when you see a project which is meant to be like, I don't know, a PFP project, trying to do all these other things, but they've not addressed the main issue, which is PFP is just crap. Yeah. They're not enticing the older generation.
Life is all a value proposition.
Yeah.
Why would you pay X amount for a pint of beer because you're in a football ground or rugby ground or whatever, and that's how much it costs, and you want one and you're there and you have to then pay it. And I think for the older generation, the value proposition is good art that is creative, that they love. And I think for some of the younger people, and I'm really quite pessimistic on some of the NFT stuff, because and this links back to a thing of mine. I think some of the Web3 community are so money focused and they want to monetize that whole thing that I sometimes think a little bit like you're missing the point though, where people are like, oh, I'm collecting NFTs. Why? Oh, because I think I can get a big return on it. And it's like, yeah, but who's buying it off you? Someone else who thinks they can get a big return off it. Like at a certain point, you've got to just appreciate that you
Someone's
like
gonna
what you
lose.
bought.
Yeah.
I go for the community. That's what my main driver is. If I like the people, like there's.
But you're lovely, Stash. But not everyone is.
I know. That's
thing.
my biggest flaw. I think, oh yeah, everyone wants to be for the same reasons, and it's like, oh, great.
That he thinks he's gorgeous. He thinks he's absolutely stunning.
I mean, we obviously met at an FTX, but we bumped into each other, just started talking, and instant friends, right? And we spent the whole weekend or whatever it was, the whole 2 days of the expo, we basically spent together. So there are people in there that you just need to sort of, I guess, locate them.
So I think. Sorry, I was just going to tie back around to the whole sort of today's topics.
Yeah.
So just to pump us back on the track that we started on, because I love chatting to you boys, but maybe we'll stay on the FTX and a bit of the wallets for a bit.
Yeah.
We're happy with FTX and the issues with exchanges. We've talked about like alternative options, but if you're like Chris and you primarily want to be on exchanges because you like the staking or whatever, do we have any exchanges that you guys think are better than others? Like obviously you mentioned crypto.com, I've mentioned Kraken earlier. I just wonder if people know the alternatives and issues with some and issues with others.
There was a recent, was it yesterday that there was an article published that's now all the big exchanges have released all their assets that they own and what they don't do. And I definitely think like Binance, he announced it a few days ago as well, that he doesn't use BNB as collateral, or is it like I think like collateral and doesn't like leverage it and stuff like that, which was the demise of FTX essentially. Like they are way more sensible. I don't know if I trust them. They may be just saying that just to make us feel better, but I definitely think Binance is number one, but it's not user friendly. That's why I sometimes go to crypto.com, because that was one of the first exchanges I started with, because I downloaded all of them. It was friendly, and I thought it was better than Coinbase, because Coinbase is just a bit too basic for me.
Yeah, I think isn't Binance the number one exchange?
It is number one, yeah.
Exactly. Like obviously crypto.com must be up there. Coinbase must be up there.
Yeah.
Kraken, I guess, is a bit smaller.
But you get your own keys. That's the thing. With Kraken, it's amazing. They get like I think value-wise, I think that the CEO of Kraken, he is like the coolest, but I still think Kraken is the harder one to use as well. That's why I want an exchange that's easy, but at the same time, well, I don't know. We just need to, I guess, just time will tell.
So one thing that sort of put me off with crypto initially, because I was confused by it, was buying one asset and doing like a pancake swap or whatever, and exchanging that for that. Like I just wanted to use money and buy it for money, right? Like, and there are some coins which you can't do that. You can't use fiat to buy.
And this is what we come to is about liquidity pairings and stuff like that, how the whole exchange in crypto on like decentralized way, like there is sometimes you can buy it for USDC or USDT or only in BNB, stuff like that. Like
try explaining all of that to, I don't know, your mum who's like 60, right? Like they're not going to understand. Like the only reason why I understand was because I sat down and I was like, okay, let me look into this a little bit. Let me do a couple of tests. I made stupid mistakes as well when I was first like exchanging coins. Like I accidentally, I think I had, I don't know, 57 of some coin that I got free from an airdrop, and I wanted to convert it to another one. I accidentally typed in 56, did the transaction, and then I was like, oh, I've still got that one that I didn't convert. So I did another transaction for that one and ended up basically losing all the money because the transaction fees were so high. for just that one. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. And I feel like at least crypto.com, this isn't an ad for crypto.com, but like I can transfer my fiat into my fiat account on crypto.com within like 5-10 minutes. It's there, and I can just buy my assets, have them there, stake them, they're good. However, obviously there is the risk, as with FTX, as with anything. So yeah, it's a bit, as I said, it's a bit of a scary time.
So do we think that overall what we should really be doing is a stash system?
Maybe
Should have.
Christmas, you should get yourself a ledger.
I think it's a good idea.
I thought the stash system was we transfer all our crypto to stash and he puts it on his ledger.
So
yeah, and then
I will update you with your balances every year, if that's okay. I promise I won't leverage trade at all.
Stash TX.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not trading with your assets, not at all, boys. No problems. No, I think it's been a really good discussion, and I think it's really interesting as well for people who might be listening to go, actually, well, what are the options that people have got out there? You know, because a lot of people, you might think, oh, you get on an exchange and that's what you do because that's how it works. But actually, there are options of using a different wallet. I would say for anyone starting to get involved in crypto, I would take £100 or something like that. It doesn't need to be £100, but a bit of money. Log on to a website, be it Binance, Kraken, Coindesk, whatever. Put your money in and buy some crypto, right? And then send it around to some places, sending £1 or £2 or whatever you need to at a time. Go, okay, how do I send it to a trust wallet? How do I do this? How do I do that? And that £50 investment of learning how crypto flows through the system is so important. Because if you just put it on Coinbase and let it sit there, you'll never learn. And also, like you can do like a swap. Be like, okay, let's see how liquidity pool works. And just be like, I don't mind if this loses 10% of its value, because that's only a £5. I'm learning. And then also, I would advise as well, as an accountant, put it in some sort of tax software and just see how it flows. So make sure you understand your tax implications as well of how that's flowing. Because sometimes, I don't know if you boys are up to date on your tax, but sometimes people do stuff.
We need to do an episode on tax.
Yeah.
I'll do a private call with you boys and be like, right, lads, you are absolutely up this creek. But no, I think but that would be my advice, would be put £50 in or whatever, play around with it. Make sure that you know how to send it. What you'll do is you'll end up probably sending, you'll send some token on the wrong token. You'll send an ERC20 to the wrong type of wallet and go, oh, it's gone. And then you have to learn and go and find it. And I just think that, because who hasn't done that before, boys? Who hasn't sent a token and gone, that's gone? You've never done that?
I've never done that.
I have absolutely done that. But you learn what happens and you learn how to find it. And that's what, that to me is invaluable, but it cost me £50. But I would say
James on the case.
but I think it would also help you get to grips with things like Etherscan or like a Tezscan or whatever, because you could flow through and be like, okay, this is my wallet. How does this go? Okay, I put it on a swap and then it comes out, or whatever, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, whatever. And I honestly think that would be a really advantageous thing, and to set up a few accounts and get how they work. And like Stashers go, okay, how do I do a burner wallet? Because I didn't know how to do that. I'm going to get Stash to teach me. But it would be really useful to be like, how do I do this? What are the advantages of doing it? And just learning, because the best way to learn is to do.
Yeah, I think, and also being a friendly, positive person in the crypto environment is really important, because there are so many toxic people out there. And I feel like we just want to spread some good positive vibes to people, and just to make it, to see it it's easier. It's not
friendly and positive, but not gullible.
Yes, not gullible.
that's the caveat. But I think that's potentially why so many people are a bit aggy, because they've been burnt before, and they're like, I'm not doing this again. Do you know what I mean? I've been down that road. It doesn't end well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that would be my advice to someone starting out, would be put some money into an exchange, send it to some soft wallets, get yourself a Ledger Nano or Ledger Nano S or X, whatever they're called, for Christmas. and have a little play around and get yourself a burn box. But
It's a good plan, actually. I can ask for it for Christmas.
Yeah, perfect. See,
I mean, it's not that expensive, is it?
I think, I think
60
between
quid,
60 and
70 quid?
80 pounds between the two different X. I'd get the X because it's slightly better, bigger, and it can store more crypto, and it's more secure. That's what I'd say.
Cool. Have we got anything else we'd like to talk about, boys, or is that
Also show
that's
what
it.
our wins and losses are for our FOMO.
okay? Right. So fear of missing out. No one who bought crypto last week to this week has missed out. Right. The only thing you've missed out on is losing money. We weren't very good on our United front, and we've bought, me and Chris have bought the same coin. Oh well. And Stash has bought something a bit different, but
I bought Atom, which is an episode all on its own. It's like a really cool blockchain. I have 17 pounds out of the 25 pounds I invested a week ago.
I have £15.41 out of the £25 I invested in
And
invested.
I have, drum roll please, £17.48.
Oh, you're a winner!
Yeah, so obviously we'll keep track of it because this was definitely not the right week to do.
Maybe this week will be the better one, question mark, or is it just going to plummet again?
Who knows?
You haven't made losses till you sell. So at the moment,
Yeah, we're
all
up, right?
Yeah.
we're not up, Sash. We're all even. But absolutely. Are we FOMOing this week? We're sticking with that FOMO, aren't we, until the World Cup?
I think we'll
hits?
stick with that one, yeah, for now.
Absolutely. Aye, Captain.
Aye, Captain. Yes, sir.
But yeah, we'll stick with that. We'll stick with that FOMO for this week. We'll update people when the World Cup kicks off and see all the fun with that. Yeah. That was Weaving Web3 for this week. I'm James.
Very much.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Flash.
Have a lovely week. Let's
Have a
all do
great
the
week.
big hands.
Bye.